Hey Project Fam, welcome back to another video where I clean out my self-watering gardening containers and take them from a hot mess to looking like this. Well, this is their current state. It's a hot mess, and get them ready for planting. This time of the season, if you miss a video, you miss a whole lot. Like if you missed this video where I built my own self-watering gardening container, you got to go check it out. And if you missed those, how about the project in the country where I built a large raised garden bed? Oh, by the way, spoiler update, it actually fell. Needed to be supported again. I'll have to post a video about that. And how about my first and last experience renting from Turo? Spoiler alert, I did not rent the red car, but I did rent something fun. And many other videos on projects and problems. All right, welcome. So today let's get to it. What we got to do is we have to remove the weeds from this container and all the other containers. First off, for something like this, you must wear gloves. Otherwise, you're going to have dirt under your nails for weeks. So this is a container from last year. As I was cleaning it out, looky here. I've got a tomato that grew from a seed. So I am going to carefully pick up that entire root ball and transplant it into a pot, and it will definitely find its way into my garden. I will have to call that my OG tomato plant from last year. So what I like to do when removing weeds is not just pulling the top of the weeds. I actually like to get it from the root. If you just pull the top of the weed, what's going to happen is it's going to grow back. So if you at least try and get it from the root, you have a better chance of getting rid of that weed. And they are called weeds for a reason. Are they really called weeds for a reason? I don't know, but it sounded really good when I said it the first time. So here I am. I'm doing my best to get as much of the roots of these weeds as possible, and I know that I am also discarding a lot of soil and a lot of existing root, but that's okay because I know that when I'm done, this is going to be a fresh and clean container ready for my next project. So what I'm doing now is I'm using a shovel to remove as much of, I don't know if it's soil or mix. There's a difference. This looks like soil. So I want to remove as much of it as possible without damaging the structure underneath, because remember, there are drainage hoses down below. So what I'm going to do is take as much as possible out of the container, and then when it's in the wheelbarrow, I will add the nutrients to it. I will mix it up, and then I'll add it back to the container. Sometimes I get lucky and I can just pull the entire root ball up with the weed. And if I feel like it, I'll shake out some of the soil, but it's not like I'm throwing this in the garbage. I'm just moving this to another part of the yard that has some holes. So I'm using this as fill, and then eventually I'll put some grass seeds on top and plant some grass. But look at it. That's the nature of what happens with these weeds. These weeds grow such a strong root ball. Like I wish my fruits and vegetables would have the same root ball as these weeds. So the next step is to add some peat moss. So the peat moss is like the secret ingredient to this wicking container, right? Because the peat moss allows the plant to get the moisture from the bottom of the container. So I add peat moss to everything, the entire containers, and I like to mix it in. And after I add the peat moss, I add perlite. And you might be like, hey, why are you adding perlite? The perlite helps with drainage. It helps absorb moisture since this container is going to be covered. It's not going to need a lot of water because the perlite keeps the soil moist. And I'm only talking about the benefits of perlite in this container. Perlite has many other benefits in planting. That's why you see those little white balls anytime you buy like potting mix or you have new seedlings. Or even if your soil is like dense, like clay, you would use that perlite to kind of break up that soil a little bit. And as you can tell, I added some peat moss and perlite on top of the old soil, and I'm going to mix them up. I'm going to mix it up inside the barrel, and then the plan is to add this new remixed, revitalized mix to my self-watering garden containers. They'll be better than store-bought soil. Yeah, this is a workout. It's a lot of fun though. Just mixing it up, getting everything ready. And since I left some of the soil / mix inside the containers, I want to now add some peat moss to the container and mix that up. So I'll have the container soil nice and mixed up, and then I will add some of my newly mixed peat moss and add it to the top of the containers, and that's how I'll have my new soil for 2022. If you've been watching along, you'll know what's coming next. So if I added peat moss to the soil, you know I have to add lime because these plants that I'm planting don't like acidic soil. Now, blueberries love acidic soil. So with my blueberries, I might just put like a whole layer of peat moss on top. But for these plants, these peppers, and these other vegetables, yeah, I do have to adjust the pH. After about a week or so, I'll probably test the soil and see where we are to see if it's too acidic or not. So, yep, adding lime right now. Typically, you like to add about a quarter cup of lime per 6 gallons of peat moss. So since I don't have straight peat moss, I'll do about, let me see, 1/8 of a cup per 6 gallons. And I have a 27-gallon container, and 6 times 3 is 18, 6 times 4 is 24, so a quarter cup times 4, it sounds like it's about a cup. And my math might be off. Any nerds out there, check my math. But yeah, I just missed my favorite shovel. I like that shovel because I think I've had that shovel for over 20 years. And it fits well with these containers and also scoops things up well in the garden. So here I am doing my final removal of weeds and twigs and basically any foreign matter in there, because what I'm about to do now is put the topsoil on the top, mix up that lime, and I'm almost done. Let's go back in and add some fresh potting mix. This happens to be moisture control. And fill up the container, mix it in a little bit more. And you know what? I said this before, but we're almost ready. You know what? We are done. We're finished. And this looks really good. All right, I'm going to add this gem here, and I might mention it in another video. I did a count of how many self-made watering containers that I have, and I have made 20 containers. I have 27-gallon containers like the ones there. I have 17-gallon containers like those. I have some yellow ones I just built, like 10 gallons, and those are only 20 that I made. So in addition to the 20 that I made, I bought 5. So altogether, I have 25 self-watering garden containers, probably the most containers in my neighborhood, if not my region. All right, everyone, I appreciate you watching. And wait a minute, we're not done yet. I almost psyched myself out. So I needed to add some fertilizer. We'll put some fertilizer on top, just like we did there, and add that to all the containers. And then after that, we fill up with some more potting mix to top off our container. So I don't know if I can answer this in the last minute, but do you top off the container totally? Do you make a round mound? Do you have it a concave? I mean, I have an answer to all of those. Bottom line is I usually leave about 1 inch from the top of the container, and that works for me. Maybe in some of the other videos, I'll tell you some of the advantages and disadvantages of doing it that way. But here I am. These are my 8 self-watering containers that are ready for plants. I appreciate you watching. Until next time.